Kyle Larson wins at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Is he the championship favorite? Is there trouble at Team Penske after Ryan Blaney loses his second engine in 3 weeks? We'll talk about that and much more on this week's episode of Mondays with Morgan. Hello everyone, thank you for joining me this week. We got another great show in store. And let's kick it off with the guy who I predicted to win this weekend's race, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson gets his first win of the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season. He also won the truck race, as well as his high limit race. He went 3 out of 4 on the week. Pretty impressive if you ask me. He would have won the Xfinity race had, in his words, Sam Mayer not rammed the crap out of him on the final restart. Through 6 weeks, you could argue Kyle Larson has been one of the top 5 best drivers this season. Outside of Daytona and COTA, Kyle Larson's been in contention to win at Atlanta, win at Phoenix, and arguably had the best car at Las Vegas had their pit strategy not been messed up by a late race caution. But does this make Kyle Larson the championship favorite? On the stat sheet, everyone's going to still say, well, Christopher Bell has 3 wins. But I don't think Christopher Bell has been as good as Kyle Larson has been. I would say right now you're looking at a championship favorite of William Byron, in my opinion. He still leads the points. Then Kyle Larson. Then probably Ryan Blaney. And then Christopher Bell. I think those right now are the 4 best drivers we've had in that order. This race wasn't mainly a Kyle Larson show, though, like we're used to. Kyle Larson was around the top 5 most of the race, but the guy who was dominating this race was Ryan Blaney. We've now seen 2 engine failures out of Team Penske at tracks where the temperatures are a little warmer than the other racetracks, Phoenix and Miami. We saw this happen with JGR in 2024, where throughout the summer, it just felt like they were blowing motors each and every single week. I'm a little bit concerned that might happen in Team Penske this year, but it seems to be an isolated thing that's a Ryan Blaney issue. We haven't really heard engine issues out of the other 2 Penske cars or the Wood brothers, so I think they can get this corrected. They're just going to have to do it fast, because Ryan Blaney's had 2 fast race cars and unfortunately just didn't get the finish to show for it through no fault of his own. But let's look at the rest of your top finishers from this weekend's race at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Alex Bowman gets second. He was in contention this entire race. Had he not hit the wall, he might have been able to hold off Larson. But Larson was really good and was able to run the bottom as well. Bowman's had a really good start to the year. I said Bowman would make the championship 4. Right now on points he is. I don't know if come playoff time he'll be a championship 4 contender, but he will definitely be in the conversation right now if this keeps up. Bubba Wallace gets a 3rd place finish. Hasn't been the season in the finishing results that they've wanted, but they've run really good to start the year. I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of the 23 team. They just need to be able to start finishing these races. Chase Briscoe gets 4th. First time we've seen him up at the front and not really have issues. That's really good to see that there's speed in that car. Denny Hamlin, first race with Progressive, gets a top 5 finish. Really the first time we're talking about JGR having a good run, but there's only 2 cars here. The other 2 cars are pretty mired back in the pack. It was kind of feast or famine for Joe Gibbs. Ty Gibbs gets 25th. Christopher Bell gets 29th. I'm not really sure what to make of Joe Gibbs Racing right now. Right now, I don't really think they're at their best, even though Christopher Bell has 3 straight wins. He has kind of been a no-show since then. Chris Buescher is just going to be the silent assassin all year long, apparently, just popping up and getting a top 5, top 10. He gets a 6th today. RFK gets 2 cars in the top 10 as Ryan Preece comes home 9th. Meanwhile, AJ Allmendinger has had 2 back-to-back weeks of top 10 finishes. Kaulig has done something to go in the right direction, and maybe that's Ty Norris. They got Ty Norris middle of last year, and now we're starting to see maybe some of that fruit start to bear. AJ has run really good at Homestead in years past, so it might just be that. But I think last week at Vegas, this week at Homestead, there's something cooking at Kaulig Racing right now, and they may be able to pull off a Josh Berry type moment and win a race this year. Tyler Reddick gets 8th, oddly quiet for the most part. He was kind of around the 10th spot most of the day. Justin Haley gets a top 10 for Spire Motorsports. I want to touch on Carson Hocevar for a moment. He had some really good strategy there at the end of stage 1, decided they weren't going to pit under the stage yellow with everyone else. They saved their tires after the 5-lap shootout, and then they got to the lead, and they pretty much held their own. Unfortunately, I believe it was a mechanical issue or an electrical issue, something like that took him out of the race. He finished last. Zane Smith gets an 11th. Noah Gragson was also up to the top 10. Todd Gilliland was just completely out to lunch all day long. I'm not sure what happened. He was around 30th all day. Really sucks for him, but good to see Zane Smith gets a top 15 finish. William Byron, 12th. Austin Dillon, 13th. This is kind of another tale of two halves, where RCR had one driver like Austin Dillon get a top 15, and Kyle Busch was back half of the top 25 most of the day. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Seems like a lot of these teams, one car's running well, one car isn't running well. Joey Logano gets 14th. He was kind of just a no-show. He was just kind of there most of the day, but wasn't really in contention. Legacy Motor Club is kind of swapping who is carrying the banner each and every single week. This week, it's Eric Jones. Really awesome to see. I said this team would compete for top 20 in points. Currently, as of right now, John Hunter Nemechek is 18th in points, and Eric Jones is 23rd in points. So this team is in contention, like I predicted. Let's just hope it carries on throughout the rest of the year. Noah Gragson gets 16th, just faded towards the end. Josh Berry gets 17th, kind of got involved in a pit road issue with Joey Logano and Kyle Larson that spun him around along with Logano. So he lost all his track position, but he started on the front row. Josh Berry is legit this year. 17th isn't the result they deserved, considering how they started the race. But some days you have those where you start really well, and just unfortunately the finish isn't there. Chase Elliott continues to just be like an 18th place car each and every single week. Not really sure what's going on there. Austin Cindric gets 19th. That's kind of where we expect him to run most of the weeks. He's been really impressive to start the year, so to come home 19th for the first time this year, through just speed, it wasn't like he got involved in anything, means there's potential that this might just be the outlier. Michael McDowell gets a top 20 finish, so 2 Spire cars in the top 20. But those are your top finishers from Homestead. Overall, this was a really fun race. I didn't get to really watch the entire race. I kind of had to watch it in bits and pieces. I had to go do a few things. But the bits I saw were great. You had comers and goers, especially with pit strategy. You got to have green flag pit stops. You saw some guys short pit, some guys stay out longer. Seems like splitting the stages in half was the best method, as we saw Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, they got up to the front at the end of those stages, really used the life that was left in those tires to pass the guys who had short pitted. Was it a thrilling race? I mean, you could say the closing laps there where Larson charged down Bowman and Bowman got in the wall was exciting, but it wasn't anything stupendous. I don't think we're going to really be talking about this race for years to come. I think it's just going to be, Kyle Larson won a race at Homestead, got himself into the playoffs. I'm sure he's going to win more races this year. He could win next week in Martinsville. We know Hendrick Motorsports is really good there. But yeah, overall, I'm going to give this race probably, I'd say a 6.5 out of 10. Maybe it's because I had to watch the race in broken up chunks. But I mean, it was a good race. It wasn't bad by any means. It just didn't have anything that made you say, wow, what a memorable race. So yeah, 6.5 out of 10. Let me know what you would rate this race out of 10 down in the comment section below. But that'll do it for this week's episode of Mondays with Morgan. I want to thank you all for the support you guys have been showing all season long. If you like this show, make sure to leave a like. If you like NASCAR, make sure to hit subscribe. Until next time, though, I'm Morgan Weeb. Have a good day, everyone.